I think specifically so they could go, aha!
I think so.
Which, story-wise, is fun, but it didn't seem like there was a reason within the context of the show. And my cat's about to... she's like, no, you're wrong about Taskmaster. She was really concerned. Thank you, Kid Lord. Hail, Internet. It's Paul. It's Matt. The Dork Lords. We are here talking about the new MCU movie, Black Widow. We're not going to do like a full recap, that kind of thing. Let you enjoy doing that. But we'll talk about things we liked, things that maybe didn't work quite so well, whatever. But a little conversation about Black Widow.
And, dear viewer, unlike before where we've had a chance to talk about, what we think or whatever, Matt has only now seen it, and I have not talked to him since he has seen it. It's all going to be fresh.
Fresh.
At the end of this, you may say, go back to discussing it before.
Okay, a little backstory. Obviously, we've got Black Widow is in the Black Widow movie. But yeah, so it's Natasha. Obviously, spoilers all throughout this, but she died. So this is a prequel. Yes. So this goes back. I think this whole thing is taking place during what would be the end of Civil War. I mean, I take that back, and at the very end, it cuts more, goes forward in time. But the majority of this story, Thunderbolt Ross is after Natasha.
Yes.
And that means that it's basically after the Sokovia Accords, and then some of the people break with it, and then so she's on the run. And then it ends with her deciding to go break her friends out of the raft, out of prison. So that's, I believe, the end of Civil War. So it's
she has the Infinity War vest on, and she also has her little blonde bob.
And she's got a Quinjet, and whatever. She's heading off. So so I think it's bracketed within the context of Civil War.
Yes.
She has this solo adventure.
Yes.
And we learn a lot about her past. We'll talk about that. But she was in a fake family growing up in the U.S. as Soviet spies in Ohio in 1995.
A few people have pointed out the similarities to the Americans, and it's my understanding that that's actually based on an actual, real people who,
that is a legit tactic that was used, and probably still is.
Yeah, your family was implanted in Germany, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. I was implanted in Germany. I talked about licking the salt mine in the previous video. That was all part of my spy plan. I'm incredibly capable. It looks like I'm just a complete imbecile, but no. It's all part of my guys.
That's right. He's got to take some candy, and then all of a sudden, who am I supposed to kill now?
The woods are lovely, dark and deep. That's a different movie. Okay, anyway. So yes, she is an 11-year-old girl in 1995, part of a fake family.
Yes.
She's got a younger pretend sister who I think is 6 at that time.
Yes.
If you just back the numbers up, that means Natasha was born in 1984.
Yes.
And as we learn later in the film, I'm just giving the timeline of this. She was born. She was found you meet some kind of genetic profile that'll make you good for our Red Room program, and taken. She was told that your parents didn't care about you and gave you up. No. She was taken, and then her mom trying to find her, and was so committed to trying to find her that she got the
they're like,
the
okay,
of the bad guys.
Yeah. We're tired of you trying to find your child. We'll take care of you.
Bonk! And killed her off. She's indoctrinated into this program. She's 11 years old. Her younger sister, Yelena, is too young really to understand what's going on, right? She's believing the lie of the family.
Yes.
11-year-old Natasha knows what's going on.
Yes. And
so in some ways, it's the legacy of the lies and secrets of this pretend family carry throughout the film quite nicely, I think. And so we see that in this opening sequence where oh yeah, we're not a family, but we're a family, and here's an 11-year-old kid having to like be very mature.
Yeah,
she's even having to fly the plane as they're trying to take off and stuff.
Yes.
So that's her life originally.
And later on, she wields a weapon with
right.
Not
to like
really
defend her pretend sister.
Yes,
She's
yes.
like holding it at soldiers. Like, I will kill you all. Like,
Yes.
oh, okay. What we've seen throughout the MCU is she and Hawkeye keep referring to Budapest or Budapest, as she says. And we know now what happened in Budapest. Short form, she was on a mission for S.H.I.E.L.D., trying to prove herself to S.H.I.E.L.D. She and Hawkeye theoretically thought they killed off Dreykov, and in the process they killed off his daughter. Dreykov's daughter, that's mentioned by Loki in the Avengers movie, like, oh, remember Dreykov's daughter, that terrible thing you did? Well, that terrible thing was she thought that she basically let this daughter die in order to kill Dreykov. So she made the ends justify the means thing. Look, we're getting rid of the bad guy, so
be more explicit. She thought she killed the daughter in order to kill the
collateral
father.
damage. Kill her off. It's worth the sacrifice.
Right.
And so she felt this guilt for that. From then on, the red in her ledger. So anyway, I know I've been doing a bunch of talking here, but so that's kind of your setup. We're learning a lot of backstory about Natasha. Paul, before I launch into other stuff, whatever thoughts? What are your thoughts on this film?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I liked the movie. The main thing for me was the four characters: Natasha, Yelena, Alexei, and Melina. I like those characters. I thought they did a great job of, like talking about the tension between the fakeness of the family that they had created, and yet the part of it that felt real to them. And great launching point for Yelena Belova,
Yep.
who will continue on. For Florence Pugh, I've liked her in a number of things, and she's the type of actress, I think, where it's like, wow, she's good, and you'll see her in stuff. At least initially, I saw her in a few things, and didn't recognize it was the same person. So it's like, now I know her, Florence Pugh, because it's like, okay, I'm tired of being fooled like this.
Fool me once.
Yes, shame on me.
She's going to be in, I think, the Hawkeye series. In fact, well,
Yes. She will
as
be
we
in the
see
Hawkeye series.
in the end credits
Yes.
sequence, we'll talk about that later. But
Yes.
yeah, that kind of sets up that relationship.
It's funny. I initially thought that this was sort of alone in Marvel's spy movies, but of course, Winter Soldier is a spy movie,
Yeah.
and you could say the same about Falcon and the Winter Soldier too. I'm hoping that they hasn't talked yet about that, but putting Yelena with the Winter Soldier and Captain America now, I feel like that group needs something else to really make it work. And so I hope that Florence will go on to work with them.
A good point about the family, like, as much as this is a big MCU film, it's got some huge action set pieces and stuff.
Yeah.
It kind of feels very small in terms of the number of characters.
Right.
Like, it's the family,
Yes.
and the bad guy, and that's pretty much like. And then you've got extras and soldiers and blah blah blah. But in terms of the characters that have lines and meaningful relationships, it's a pretty small cast.
Yeah.
Really, and to good ends. One of the things I've heard people say negatively about the film that I disagree with is people will say this. They'll go, "Hey, if this wasn't part of the MCU, it would just be like a standard spy movie." Blah 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, but it is. Yeah, you're right. If you took away the biggest strength of this movie, that we know all about Natasha, and it was just new person we met, yeah, it would be a less good film. Yeah, but you don't have to do that. We do know her, so don't do that. That's dumb. Anyway, so that hypothetical is odd because it's like, no, this is a character we know very well.
Right, and also too, we know about super soldiers. Okay, and so the paradigm that they use in terms of people who are sort of enhanced, it's in a particular framework. You know, it's funny, you're reminding me of another thing that people sort of rag on this because too little too late. Because, this would probably be the last time we see Scarlett Johansson in this role.
Sure.
And so why bother to have this, or, what's the point of this, or whatever. Except that, it begins to be I'll say it again, Yelena's origin story.
Right.
So,
Right.
it's as a torch passing.
Definitely. We might as well talk about it now. No more so than as we see in that end credit sequence. The end credit sequence is Yelena in modern day visiting this remote country site where Natasha is buried. And she's at her grave site, paying her respects. And then we see Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Val, that we first met in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yes.
She comes up. It's like, hey, your vacation's over.
Yeah.
We need you to go do a job for us. Yelena asks for a raise, whatever. But so we get the idea that Yelena's been doing assassinations for Val's group for a while. And the latest one is Hawkeye. And the reason is she's like, look, special, incentive. This is the guy responsible for Natasha's death on Boromir. And so that's kind of sets up what I assume will be, the Disney Plus thing.
Yeah, I wonder what extent it will be. I mean, because obviously the point of that show is going to be...
Kate Bishop, right?
Yeah, bringing Kate Bishop into the fold. I mean, to the extent that she's continued doing those nefarious acts, I can't imagine they wouldn't try to reform her.
Right.
Perhaps that's what's going to happen in, it'll be a series, so perhaps there'll be enough room for her character to be reformed.
Yeah, because I found that really interesting that, we get this character arc for her of sorts in this movie because she was mind controlled. She breaks out of the control, helps to free all these other people that are similarly mind controlled, and then seemingly she spends, I don't know, another decade killing people for cash. And so it's like, was she reformed? I no longer do it because I'm mind controlled. I do it for cash.
I just do it for cash. There you go.
Now I just do it for money. That's fine.
Yeah.
So I think there's still more to that arc, obviously, but to come. Also, I assume at some point she would figure out, oh, yes, Hawkeye was there when Natasha died, but he's not really responsible for her death.
Yeah.
We talked about Budapest. One of the things I found interesting was when they're on the run, and they're on the run from Taskmaster, a character one of the villains we'll talk about here in a second, but and they hide in this air duct, and Natasha's like, oh yeah, Clint and I hid here for a couple of days.
Yes.
Back, and I was like, and you see they were playing hangman on the side of the air duct. It's just a really interesting little tidbit. You could imagine them just hanging out there in this vent or whatever for days.
Yes.
Wow. Anyway, so that's kind of a cool little little thing. So the big, MacGuffin basically is you've got, the Red Room, which they thought was deactivated, and this guy Dreykov, who they thought was dead, killed in Budapest, is all still active. He's alive. Red Room's active, and the research that their fake family stole back in 1995 in Ohio, they stole it from Shield/Hydra.
Yes.
Hydra.
Yes.
And it was this mind control stuff that eventually was used to mind control all these women and turn them into these zombie agents, essentially.
Yes.
And so they're trying to take down that program.
Yes.
Dreykov, he's it's funny. He's very much a Bond villain, and they even show Natasha's a big fan of Moonraker. We see her watching it and mouthing along the dialogue. I would say, actually,
I was quite fond of that scene between the two of them when he was hitting her. She was just sort of like, "Is that all you got?"
Yeah. She's using her manipulation tactics to get what she wants. She wants him to hit her because she's trying to dead in a nerve sense or whatever, but
Yeah. Well, yeah, very effectively taunting him and making him exploiting whatever insecurities he might have about, his strength over the women that he controls clearly. And then, capping off with "Thank you for your cooperation," call back to the Avengers.
Yeah, good point. But the Moonraker reference, Moonraker as a Bond villain in the sky, it has to be taken out. But I would think maybe a better analog might have been in Her Majesty's Secret Service, just because that one's got a series of female agents mind control, brainwashed, and they're called like the Angels of Death or whatever. And
I'm not entirely willing to lose the connection to Moonraker though, because you have that skydiving scene in Moonraker, right?
Yeah. Good point. Right, without the parachute.
Yeah. So
which we have here. Good point.
And I really liked this. Actually, it's funny when I saw the trailers for it, I was like, I don't know, but it worked for me in the movies. So.
Right, it seemed like I'm just committing myself to certain death, but Speaking of which, the back and forth between Yelena and Natasha is interesting. Yelena's constantly kind of throwing little barbs at Natasha, and one of them is, you're one of the lesser Avengers, right? I mean, Thor doesn't need an ibuprofen after he has a fight, so just so we know where you stand in the pecking order. That's just kind of like it's true. But Let's talk then about Taskmaster. I feel like that seems to be the source of the most controversy in this film. One thing, just personally coming into it, I'm
not aware of Taskmaster. I mean, I was aware. I think I'd heard probably of Taskmaster. I was never, particularly intrigued by the description of it. Like, I would love to hear from people who actually fight. Say, is that particularly dangerous? If someone knows, can mirror your moves? I guess if they understand your moves, they can counter it. But that's not the same thing as mirroring.
And also, if you mirror the moves, let's say you mirror the moves of Captain America.
Yes.
But you're like 1/10 the strength of Captain America. Does it matter? If I mirrored Captain America's moves, I still get my ass kicked terribly. So it's like, oh, look, he's great at that. And now let's take him in and arrest him. So anyway.
So I
didn't know a lot about it.
If anybody watching us feels like that's the thing that bothered them the most, okay.
Because here's my theory. I think the Taskmaster quote unquote misdirect was designed for people that knew Taskmaster.
Okay.
Partially because in the comics and in the, I guess there's a video game with Taskmaster in it. It's a guy.
Sure.
Here, it's revealed to be the presumed dead daughter of Dreykov.
Yes.
At the end, like, oh, there's the reveal, and so it's a woman instead of a guy. But another thing they did in this movie, which I had to look it up, and I was like, oh, interesting. If I had known about Taskmaster, I might have been misdirected. Is that Natasha's friend? She flirts with him. He's the agent.
Oh, yes.
That gets her all the, here's your helicopter. That guy.
He floats with her. I don't know if she's flirting with him.
That's true. Good point. They're at least on good terms. And his name, if you look at the, cast, he is known as Mason.
Yes.
Well, Rick Mason is the name of Taskmaster. And so I wonder if maybe they almost got a little too clever and were like, look, if people who knew the Taskmaster character know that his name's Mason, and he's a friend of hers, but he's a little suspicious because he's like, how does he get all this gear out of nowhere and blah, 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 blah. I know he's the guy that'll be the reveal, but no, it's actually a woman. Like, I don't know. It didn't at all washed over me because I didn't know it from the beginning.
I wasn't suspecting him at any point in the movie.
Nope, never did. So I don't know if that was supposed to be that or not, but it's just interesting they named him the name of the guy who is the Taskmaster. The other thing that was, again, it feel like we want to do a misdirect, which they didn't need, was the fact that they had Taskmaster masked. none of the women in the red room are masked. They don't mask anybody else, but they mask this character. I think specifically so they can go, aha!
Yeah, I think so.
Which story-wise is fun, but it didn't seem like there was a reason within the context of the show. And my cat's about to. She's like, you're wrong about Taskmaster. She was really concerned. Thank you, Kid Lord. But so in other words,
I don't know. I mean, certainly dramatically, the point of revealing it at that moment is, you thought you were now to make it harder for you to fight this person who already.
Right. I guess why did he mask her? Why did Dreykov mask his daughter? I guess I don't. It would be interesting to at least get some semblance of why that was. Maybe just to make her seem more threatening.
I feel like, certainly the myth of that character, he wanted it to be as mysterious as possible, and the fact that people don't even know if it's a man or a woman,
Right.
It's just.
It's the same reason that superheroes generally wear masks to make a myth.
Yeah.
Make a persona.
I guess it feels false when you think of also the Winter Soldier and he's walking around in a mask, and then just so it's like, oh, Bucky, oh.
Right, yeah. What? Oh, it's Bucky. If you hadn't been wearing a mask, I would have known the whole time.
Hey, let's go out for drinks. Come on.
Yeah. So we do see that obviously the Red Room is freed. Although I'll say this, they free 20 people, but there's a worldwide program. They get the names of them. That's what it is. They get the names.
Yeah.
So Natasha gets the names.
And they have one vial of the stuff that they can use to get other people. So.
Right. So the idea is that Yelena is going to reproduce this serum, this antidote, and then go one by one, find these people, and free them.
Yeah.
Is the idea. And so maybe that's
and
part
perhaps,
of what she's doing.
Perhaps a reason to hook up with Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character is to get money to do that.
Right. I'll kill people for money, but you know what I'm doing on the backside of that is I'm freeing other people, so it actually makes it fine.
I tried to get her to donate. She was like, meh.
Yeah, right. I did like a GoFundMe. Yeah. No one contributed, so I got to go kill Hawkeye.
Yeah,
it's gonna get some
yeah. That's the first go reward for $10,000.
$10,000. I'll kill the person of your choice.
Yeah.
So I did like the bit where, speaking of Red in the Ledger, the bit where Red Guardian, who we haven't talked about yet, but I really like Alexei, David Harbour's character.
Oh, yeah.
Very enjoyable to watch. But he's really proud of his girls, as he calls them.
Yes.
And part of it, he's like, oh, you've got so much red in your ledger, so much blood that you've killed so many people. It's so great of you guys. You guys are the best.
Yes,
which is just abhorrent to them, and he can't see that in the moment. I like the fact that Alexei, he's the Red Guardian, so he's kind of like in his mind, and maybe realistically, at some point he was supposed to be the Soviet Union's answer to Captain America.
Yes.
And so in his mind, they're equals.
Yes.
And he's obsessed with the idea that he be associated, like the fact that Natasha knows Captain America. He's like, did he ever talk about me?
Yeah.
Like he wants to have that level of recognition. And I like that character trait about him.
Yeah.
The fact that he can't resist. Like Yelena's upset.
Yes.
He goes to try to calm her down. She throws off a thing of like, look, you're just running around trying to be this Crimson Dynamo, which is another reference, but and he can't let it go. He knows that's not the point.
Yes.
He's trying to, but he can't let it go. So he's like, it's actually the Red Guardian. But you can see I can't let this go.
Yes, no, anyway. Don't call me that poser.
Well, there's probably some more from him, right? He does not die. The family, nobody dies. None of the family members die.
Right.
So
they could bring them back, I guess, but they might not feel like they have as much character reasons. I mean, I certainly would like to see a Yelena movie, but that might not be in the cards.
Melina is an interesting character as well. She's the scientist who kind of brought everything together.
Yeah.
And so she maybe feels even some some of the most guilty. Oh, Kidlor objects to that. All right, fine. Kidlor has something to say about Melina. That's one of her favorite characters. She's got this thing where she's got the pigs.
Yes.
And she's like, oh, yeah, you just cut off their breathing, and then they stop breathing. And everyone's watching, going, wait, please. Please let the pig breathe.
Yeah.
And so we see a little bit of her, because she later talks, seeing Natasha and Natasha's reactions, she says, oh, you still have a heart. How did you keep it?
Well, that's one of the things she was telling her on the stretcher there, is to keep her heart. It's interesting the way she was sort of managing Natasha, because when they were leaving the house, Natasha wanted to take the photo album, and Melina discouraged her from doing that, but then she took it herself. She knew that Natasha was strong, and so she was parenting her. So, yeah, It was interesting the nuance that was set up there.
And in the end, Natasha calls her a coward, but in the end she does do the right thing, basically puts herself on the line in order to help this, the plot, we call it a heist. One of the plot points is, hey, if we just get this antidote to these people, it removes their control, and they revert to basically good people. They're probably not well adjusted, they probably got PTSD, but they're like, hey, look, I'm a reasonable person.
Yeah.
Part of me wonders if that's true. Like,
what do you mean?
For instance, like in the Avengers movie, Hawkeye gets mind controlled by Loki.
Yes.
Right? And it's maybe for a couple of weeks, something like that. He does some bad things for Loki. He gets brought back, and he feels bad about it, and he's back. Oh, look, I'm Hawkeye. But what if Hawkeye had never had an identity of his own yet? If he's 5, and then for decades he's mind controlled and basically trained to be a killer, and then he kills a whole bunch of folks, and then you take away that mind control after 20 years.
Yes.
Does he revert back to like, oh no, I'm fine, I'm good, or like, I'm a good person? I almost feel like it's too late, I guess. I'm just wondering, is it too late to remove this conditioning from somebody who from age 5 to say age 25?
So what does that mean then?
That it's just not effective. Like, this antidote, it'll work on someone who was 20, got mind controlled, and I feel as
if you're assuming that you're defining it as something that will make you normal, and it's just something that gives you control. That's all.
Okay.
It's all like you could say that perhaps in their mental makeup, that there are things that they can't do that they might need to do, I guess, that the mind control was functioning for them. But yeah, I think the point of the serum is just to make it so they can choose what to do for themselves.
Gotcha.
And they still have the skills that they
Right.
developed.
They keep the skills.
They could now I'm going to kill this guy.
Which, by the way, obviously free will is certainly a point of this movie. It's one of the themes. It's like, hey, we took away people's free will, we're giving it back. Which obviously we just talked about with the Loki series was a theme there, where, hey, what do you choose, free will or a safer universe without free will? And they choose the world of free will. So,
yes. Although it's funny the way that free will is philosophically in Loki, whether or not actions are predetermined or whatever, that's I feel like it's fun. It's something that I hear philosophers talk about all the time. Like, no, we don't have free will. Like, okay, if you say so, but I'm gonna believe that I do anyway.
Another little small detail, just an interesting point, is that the symbol for Black Widow looks like the hourglass from Loki.
Yeah, you're right.
Anyway, but I don't know that necessarily means anything. It probably doesn't, but
I'm sure
it's just interesting that the symbols are the same.
Very interesting. I mean, the thing that occurred to me was people talking about Black Widow being, just a one and done movie because, it takes place in between, these two movies, and the character's actually dead. and Loki's dead too, and yet actually the character of Loki that we're getting is a different Loki. So it's a different it's an interesting thing. Loki is the only character that we're familiar with who is now an alternate character.
Good point. Because easily there could be variants of everybody, right? I mean,
right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, for me, and you could almost say in a way that's what I think makes interesting about Vision, in that with the Mind Stone taken away, he's a different person, and so I think it'll be interesting to sort of him to rediscover who he is. But I would argue though that any other character that we see, and I would include Natasha in this, as a variant, could conceivably be their own person, be a separate person that we could rediscover.
Well, in fact, I think in the What If series that we're about to watch in August, I think we're going to see a variant of Natasha.
Yeah.
In that, it's an animated series, but
as an idea, what if the family decided to defect?
Right.
Right. I don't know that that's the story they're going to do, but that's certainly a story they could do.
Or what if her very committed mother rescued her? I don't know.
Right.
Yes. Like, who knows what abilities or talents Natasha's mom had?
I mean, I don't think that they will. I mean, but I think it would be interesting if they did do that.
We haven't really talked about the action scenes, but the action scenes are well choreographed.
Oh, yeah, I like them.
There's a lot of. I would say there's not as many action scenes as maybe you might see in other MCU films, but they're effective. And there's a lot of one-on-one fight scenes. And I was taken with the movie as I sat down to watch it. I was going to actually watch it in parts just because I was like, I only have so much time. But I was engaged, and I went ahead and watched it all the way through.
Oh, wow.
Because it drew me in. So, I like this movie.
I like it certainly better than some, like the Hulk and the first two Thor movies. I like it better than that. And I like it better than Captain Marvel. I think this is a better movie than Captain Marvel. Better than Guardians 2, but not as good as Guardians 1.
Right, you have an exact. Here's where it slots. I'm going to open up the shelf, and we're putting it in the. So yeah. Anyway, that was Black Widow.
Yes.
And what is the next movie to come out? Shang-Chi is the next movie to come out. Yeah.
Yes.
Meanwhile, What If is coming out.
Yes.
So we'll be talking about those various MCU things.
So
anyway, thank you as always, Paul. Appreciate it, sir.
Certainly.
And we will talk next time. Bye, everybody. Bye, Kittalore.